My Lady Singing by Aubrey de Vere, recorded for LibriVox.org. She whom this heart must ever hold most dear, this heart in happy bondage held so long, began to sing. At first a gentle fear rosied her countenance, for she's young, and he who loves her most of all was near. But when at last her voice grew full and strong, oh, from their ambush sweet, how rich and clear bubbled the notes abroad, a rapturous throng. Her little hands were sometimes flung apart, and sometimes palm to palm together pressed, whilst wave-like blushes rising from her breast kept time with that aerial melody as muses to the sight. I, standing nigh, received the falling fountain in my heart. End of poem. Recorded by Henry K. Noble in Washington, D.C., July 28, 2022. This recording is in the public domain.
Madrigal by Anonymous. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Izzy Barbieri. As I saw fair Chloris walk alone, the feathered rain came softly down, as Jove descending from his tower to court her in a silver shower. The wanton snow flew to her breast, as little birds into their nest, but overcome with whiteness there, for grief dissolved into a tear, thence falling on her garment's hem, to deck her froze into a gem. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
York and Lancaster by Anonymous, recorded for LibriVox.org. If this fair rose offend thy sight, placed in thy bosom bare, 'twill blush to find itself less white, and turn Lancastrian there. But if thy ruby lip it spy, as kiss it thou mayest deign, with envy pale 'twill lose its dye, and Yorkish turn again. End of poem. Read by Kerry Adams, your book voice, at Mesa, Arizona, on the 1st of August, 2022. This recording is in the public domain.
Jeanie Morrison by William Motherwell, read for LibriVox.org. I've wandered east, I've wandered west, through mony a weary way, but never, never can forget the love o' life's young day. The fire that's blawn on Beltane End may weel be black gin Yule, but blacker fa awaits the heart where first fond love grows cold. Oh dear, dear Jeanie Morrison, the thoughts o' bygone years still fling their shadows o'er my path and blind my een wi' tears. They blind my een with salt, salt tears, and sair and sick I pine, as memory idly summons up the blithe blinks o' lang syne. 'Twas then we loved ilk ither weel, 'twas then we twa did part. Sweet time, sad time, twa bairns at school, twa bairns and but a heart. 'Twas then we sat on a lay bink to their ilk ither leer, and tones and looks and smiles were shed, remembered evermair. I wonder, Jeanie, aften yet, when sitting on that bink, cheek touching cheek, loof looked in loof, what our wee heads could think, when baith bent down o'er a braid page, we a book on our knee. Thy lips were on thy lesson, but my lesson was in thee. Oh, mind ye how we hung our heads, how cheeks brent red with shame, whene'er the skull weens laughin' said, we clicked thegither hame. And mind ye o' the Saturdays, the skull then skelped at noon, when we ran off to spiel the braes, the broomy braes o' June. My head rins round and round about, my heart flows like a sea, as one by one the thoughts rush back, o school time and o thee. O morning life, O morning love, O lightsome days and lang, when hinnied hopes around our hearts like simmer blossoms sprang. O mind ye love how aft we left the deaving dinsome town, to wander by the green burn side and hear its waters croon. The simmer leaves hung o'er our heads, the flowers burst round our feet, and in the gloaming o'er the wood the throstle whustlet sweet. The throstle whustlet in the wood, the burn sang to the trees, and we with nature's heart in tune concerted harmonies. And on the knowe abune the burn for hours thegither sat, yon the silentness of joy till baith we very gladness brought. Dear Jeanie Morrison, tears twinkled down your cheek, like dew beads on a rose, yet nane had only power to speak. That was a time, a blessed time, when hearts were fresh and young, when freely gushed all feelings forth, unsyllabled, unsung. I marvel, Jeanie Morrison, gin I hae be to thee, as closely twined wi' earliest thoughts as ye have been to me. O tell me gin their music fills twine ear as it does mine. O say gin e'er your heart grows grit wi' dreamings o' lang syne. I've wandered east, I've wandered west, I've borne a weary lot, but in my wanderings far or near, ye never were forgot. The fount that first burst frae this heart still travels on its way, and channels deeper as it rins the love o' life's young day. O dear, dear Jeanie Morrison, since we were cindered young, I've never seen your face nor heard the music o' your tongue, but I could hug all wretchedness, and happy could I die, did I but ken your heart still dreamed o' bygone days and me. End of poem. Read by Linda Marie Nielsen, Vancouver, BC. This recording is in the public domain. I met her I loved yestereen by William Motherwell. Recorded for LibriVox.org. I met her I loved yestereen. I met her wi' a look o' sorrow. My leave I took o' her for aye I wedded bride she'll be the morrow. She durstna gie a smile to me, nor drap a word o' kindly feelin', yet down her cheeks the bitter tears in mony a pearly bead were stealin'. I couldna my lost love upbraid, Although my dearest hopes were blighted, I could na say you're fause to me, though to another she was plighted. Like selfest friends whom death divides in heaven to meet, we silent parted. Now voice had we our griefs to speak, we felt sae lone and broken hearted. I'll gie my frae my native land, far frae thy blithesome banks o' Yarrow. Wae's me I canna bide to see my winsome love another's morrow. I'll hie me to a distant land, wi' downcast e'e and life-sick bosom. A weary waste the world's to me, sin I hae lost that bonny blossom. End of poem. Read by Linda Marie Nielsen, Vancouver, BC. This recording is in the public domain.
A Woman's Question by Adelaide Ann Procter. Before I trust my fate to thee, or place my hand in thine, before I let thy future give colour and form to mine, before I peril all for thee, question thy soul to-night for me, I break all slighter bonds, nor feel a shadow of regret. Is there one link within the past that holds thy spirit yet? Or is thy faith as clear and free as that which I can pledge to thee? Does there within thy dimmest dreams a possible future shine, wherein thy life could henceforth breathe, untouched, unshared by mine? If so, at any pain or cost, oh tell me before all is lost. Look deeper still, if thou canst feel within thy inmost soul that thou hast kept a portion back, while I have staked the whole. Let no false pity spare the blow, but in true mercy tell me so. Is there within thy heart a need that mine cannot fulfill? One chord that any other hand could better wake or still? Speak now, lest at some future day my whole life wither and decay. Lives there within thy nature hid the demon spirit change, shedding a passing glory still on all things new and strange? It may not be thy fault alone, but shield my heart against thy own. Couldst thou withdraw thy hand one day and answer to my claim that fate and that to-day's mistake not thou had been to blame? Some soothe their conscience thus, but thou wilt surely warn and save me now. Nay, answer not, I dare not hear, the words would come too late. Yet I would spare thee all remorse, so comfort thee, my fate. Whatever on my heart may fall, remember, I would risk it all. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. A Woman's Answer by Adelaide Ann Procter. Read for LibriVox.org by Redrun. I will not let you say a woman's part must be to give exclusive love alone. Dearest, although I love you so, my heart answers 1,000 claims beside your own. I love. What do I not love? Earth and air find space within my heart, and myriad things you would not deign to heed are cherished there, and vibrate on its very inmost strings. I love the summer with her ebb and flow of light and warmth and music that have nursed her tender buds to blossoms, and you know it was in summer that I saw you first. I love the winter dearly too, but then I owe it so much. On a winter's day, bleak, cold, and stormy, you returned again, when you had been those weary months away. I love the stars like friends. So many nights I gazed at them when you were far from me, till I grew blind with tears. Those far-off lights could watch you, whom I longed in vain to see. I love the flowers, happy hours lie shut up within their petals close and fast. You have forgotten, dear, but they and I keep every fragment of the golden past. I love, too, to be loved. All loving praise seems like a crown upon my life, to make it better worth the giving, and to raise still nearer to your own the heart you take. I love all good and noble souls. I heard one speak of you but lately, and for days, only to think of it, my soul was stirred in the tender memory of such generous praise. I love all those who love you, all who owe comfort to you, and I can find regret, even now, for those poorer hearts who once could know and once could love you, and can now forget. Well, is my heart so narrow, I who spare love for all these? Do I not even hold my favorite books in special tender care, and prize them as a miser does his gold? The poets that you used to read to me, while summer twilights faded in the sky, but most of all I think Aurora Leigh, because, do you remember why? Will you be jealous? Did you guess before I love so many things? Still you the best? Dearest, remember that I love you more, oh, more 1,000 times than all the rest. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
True or False by Adelaide and Procter. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Nancy Beard. So you think you love me, do you? Well, it may be so. But there are many ways of loving, I have learnt to know. Many ways, and but one true way, which is very rare, and the counterfeits look brightest, though they will not wear. Yet they ring almost quite truly, last with care for long, but in time must break, may shiver, at a touch of wrong. Having seen what looked most real crumble into dust, now I choose that test and trial should precede my trust. I have seen a love demanding time and hope and tears, chaining all the past exacting bonds from future years. Mind and heart and joy and sorrow claiming as its fee, that was love of self, and never, never love of me. I have seen a love forgetting all above, beyond, linking every dream and fancy in a sweeter bond, counting every hour worthless which was cold or free. That perhaps was love of pleasure, but not love of me. I have seen a love whose patience never turned aside, full of tender, fond devices, constant even when tried. Smallest boons were held as victories, drops that swelled the sea. That, I think, was love of power, but not love of me. I have seen a love disdaining ease and pride and fame, burning even its own white pinions just to feed its flame, reigning thus supreme, triumphant, by the soul's decree. That was love of love, I fancy, but not love of me. I have heard, or dreamt, it may be, what love is when true. How to test and how to try it is the gift of few. These few say, or did I dream it, that true love abides in these very things, but always has a soul besides. Lives among the false loves, knowing just their peace and strife, bears the self-same look, but always has an inner life. Only a true heart can find it, true as it is true. Only eyes as clear and tender, look it through and through. If it dies, it will not perish by time's slow decay. True love only grows, they tell me, stronger day by day. Pain has been its friend and comrade, fate it can defy. Only by its own sword sometimes love can choose to die. And its grave shall be more noble and more sacred still than a throne where one less worthy reigns and rules at will. Tell me then, do you dare offer this true love to me? Neither you nor I can answer. We will wait and see. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
I Saw Thee Weep by Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Paul Baguley. I saw thee weep, the big bright tear came o'er that eye of blue, and then methought it did appear a violet dropping dew. I saw thee smile, the sapphire's blaze beside thee ceased to shine. It could not match the living rays that filled that glance of thine. As clouds from yonder sun receive a deep and yellow dye, which scarce the shade of coming eve can banish from the sky. Those smiles unto the moodiest mind their own pure joy impart. Their sunshine leaves a glow behind that lightens o'er the heart. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Origin of Love by Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Paul Baguley. The origin of love? Ah, why that cruel question ask of me, when thou mayst read in many an eye he starts to life on seeing thee. And shouldst thou seek his end to know, my heart forebodes, my fears foresee, he'll linger long in silent woe, but live until I cease to be. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Dream by Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Paul Baguley. 1. Our life is twofold. Sleep hath its own world, a boundary between the things misnamed death and existence. Sleep hath its own world, and a wide realm of wild reality, and dreams in their development have breath, and tears, and tortures, and the touch of joy. They leave a weight upon our waking thoughts. They take a weight from off our waking toils. They do divide our being. They become a portion of ourselves as of our time, and look like heralds of eternity. They pass like spirits of the past. They speak like sibyls of the future. They have power, the tyranny of pleasure and of pain. They make us what we were not, what they will, and shake us with the vision that's gone by. The dread of vanished shadows. Are they so? Is not the past all shadow? What are they? Creations of the mind? The mind can make substance, and people planets of its own with beings brighter than have been, and give a breath to forms which can outlive all flesh. I would recall a vision which I dreamed perchance in sleep, for in itself a thought, a slumbering thought, is capable of years and curdles a long life into 1 hour. 2. I saw 2 beings in the hues of youth standing upon a hill, a gentle hill, green and of mild declivity, the last as 'twere the cape of a long ridge of such, save that there was no sea to lave its base, but a most living landscape, and the wave of woods and cornfields and the abodes of men scattered at intervals, and wreathing smoke arising from such rustic roofs. The hill was crowned with a peculiar diadem of trees in circular array, so fixed, not by the sport of nature, but of man. These two, a maiden and a youth, were there gazing, the one on all that was beneath fair as herself, but the boy gazed on her, and both were young, and one was beautiful. And both were young, yet not alike in youth. As the sweet moon on the horizon's verge, the maid was on the eve of womanhood. The boy had fewer summers, but his heart had far outgrown his years, and to his eye there was but one beloved face on earth, and that was shining on him. He had looked upon it till it could not pass away. He had no breath, no being, but in hers. She was his voice. He did not speak to her, but trembled on her words. She was his sight, for his eye followed hers and saw with hers, which coloured all his objects. He had ceased to live within himself. She was his life, the ocean to the river of his thoughts which terminated all upon a tone. A touch of hers, his blood would ebb and flow, and his cheek changed tempestuously, his heart unknowing of its cause of agony. But she in these fond feelings had no share. Her sighs were not for him. To her he was even as a brother, but no more. 'Twas much for brotherless she was, save in the name her infant friendship had bestowed on him. Herself the solitary scion left of a time-honoured race, it was a name which pleased him, and yet pleased him not. And why? Time taught him a deep answer. When she loved another, even now she loved another, and on the summit of that hill she stood looking afar if yet her lover's steed kept pace with her expectancy, and flew. 3. A change came o'er the spirit of my dream. There was an ancient mansion, and before its walls there was a steed caparisoned. Within an antique oratory stood the boy of whom I spake. He was alone, and pale, and pacing to and fro. Anon he sate him down, and seized a pen, and traced words which I could not guess of. Then he leaned his bowed head on his hands, and shook as 'twere with a convulsion, then rose again, and with his teeth and quivering hands did tear what he had written, but he shed no tears. And he did calm himself, and fix his brow into a kind of quiet. As he paused, the lady of his love re-entered there. She was serene and smiling then, and yet she knew she was by him beloved. She knew, for quickly comes such knowledge, that his heart was darkened with her shadow, and she saw that he was wretched, but she saw not all. He rose, and with a cold and gentle grasp he took her hand. A moment o'er his face a tablet of unutterable thoughts was traced, and then it faded as it came. He dropped the hand he held, and with slow steps retired, but not as bidding her adieu, for they did part with mutual smiles. He passed from out the massy gate of that old hall, and mounting on his steed he went his way, and ne'er repassed that hoary threshold more. 4. A change came o'er the spirit of my dream. The boy was sprung to manhood. In the wilds of fiery climes he made himself a home, and his soul drank their sunbeams. He was girt with strange and dusky aspects. He was not himself like what he had been. On the sea and on the shore he was a wanderer. There was a mass of many images crowded like waves upon me, but he was a part of all, and in the last he lay reposing from the noontide sultriness, couched among fallen columns, in the shade of ruined walls that had survived the names of those who reared them. By his sleeping side stood camels grazing, and some goodly steeds were fastened near a fountain. And a man clad in a flowing garb did watch the while many of his tribe slumbered around, and they were canopied by the blue sky, so cloudless, clear, and purely beautiful that God alone was to be seen in heaven. 5. A change came o'er the spirit of my dream. The lady of his love was wed with one who did not love her better. In her home 1,000 leagues from his, her native home, she dwelt, begirt with growing infancy, daughters and sons of beauty. But behold, upon her face there was the tint of grief, the settled shadow of an inward strife, and an unquiet drooping of the eye, as if its lid were charged with unshed tears. What could her grief be? She had all she loved, and he who had so loved her was not there to trouble with bad hopes, or evil wish, or ill-repressed affliction, her pure thoughts. What could her grief be? She had loved him not, nor given him cause to deem himself beloved, nor could he be a part of that which preyed upon her mind, a spectre of the past. 6. A change came o'er the spirit of my dream. The wanderer was returned. I saw him stand before an altar with a gentle bride. Her face was fair, but was not that which made the starlight of his boyhood. As he stood even at the altar, o'er his brow there came the selfsame aspect, and the quivering shock that in the antique oratory shook his bosom in its solitude. And then, as in that hour, a moment o'er his face the tablet of unutterable thoughts was traced, and then it faded as it came. And he stood calm and quiet, and he spoke the fitting vows, but heard not his own words, and all things reeled around him. He could see not that which was, nor that which should have been, but the old mansion, and the accustomed hall, and the remembered chambers, and the place, the day, the hour, the sunshine, and the shade, all things pertaining to that place and hour, and her who was his destiny, came back and thrust themselves between him and the light. What business had they there at such a time? 7. A change came o'er the spirit of my dream. The lady of his love, oh, she was changed as by the sickness of the soul. Her mind had wandered from its dwelling, and her eyes they had not their own lustre, but the look which is not of the earth. She was become the queen of a fantastic realm. Her thoughts were combinations of disjointed things, and forms impalpable and unperceived of others' sight familiar were to hers. And this the world calls frenzy, but the wise have a far deeper madness, and the glance of melancholy is a fearful gift. What is it but the telescope of truth, which strips the distance of its fantasies and brings life near in utter nakedness, making the cold reality too real? 8. A change came o'er the spirit of my dream. The wanderer was alone as heretofore. The beings which surrounded him were gone, or were at war with him. He was a mark for blight and desolation, compassed round with hatred and contention. Pain was mixed in all which was served up to him, until, like to the Pontic monarch of old days, he fed on poisons, and they had no power, but were a kind of nutriment. He lived through that which had been death to many men, and made him friends of mountains. With the stars and the quick spirit of the universe he held his dialogues, and they did teach to him the magic of their mysteries. To him the book of night was opened wide, and voices from the deep abyss revealed a marvel and a secret. Be it so. 9. My dream was past. It had no future change. It was of a strange order, that the doom of these two creatures should be thus traced out almost like a reality, the one to end in madness, both in misery. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Love by S.T. Coleridge, recorded for LibriVox.org. All thoughts, all passions, all delights, whatever stirs this mortal frame, all are but ministers of love, and feed his sacred flame. Oft in my waking dreams do I live o'er again that happy hour, when midday on the mount I lay, beside the ruined tower. The moonshine stealing o'er the scene had blended with the lights of eve, and she was there, my hope, my joy, my own dear Genevieve. She leaned against the armed man, the statue of the armed knight. She stood and listened to my lay, amid the lingering light. Few sorrows hath she of her own, my hope, my joy, my Genevieve. She loves me best, whene'er I sing the songs that make her grieve. I played a soft and doleful air, I sang an old and moving story, an old rude song that suited well that ruin wild and hoary. She listened with a flitting blush, with downcast eyes and modest grace, for well she knew I could not choose but gaze upon her face. I told her of the knight that wore upon his shield a burning brand, and that for 10 long years he wooed the lady of the land. I told her how he pined, and the deep, the low, the pleading tone with which I sang another's love, interpreted my own. She listened with a flitting blush, with downcast eyes and modest grace, and she forgave me that I gazed too fondly on her face. But when I told the cruel scorn that crazed that bold and lovely knight, that he crossed the mountain woods, nor rested day or night, that sometimes from the savage den, and sometimes from the darksome shade, and sometimes starting up at once in green and sunny glade, there came and looked him in the face an angel beautiful and bright, and that he knew it was a fiend, this miserable knight, and that, unknowing what he did, he leaped amid a murderous band, and saved from outrage worse than death the lady of the land. And how she wept, and clasped his knees, and how she tended him in vain, and ever strove to expiate the scorn that crazed his brain. And that she nursed him in a cave, and how his madness went away, when on the yellow forest leaves a dying man he lay. His dying words, but when I reached that tenderest strain of all the ditty, my faltering voice and pausing harp disturbed her soul with pity. All impulses of soul and sense had thrilled my guileless Genevieve, the music and the doleful tale, the rich and balmy eve. And hopes and fears that kindle hope, an undistinguishable throng, and gentle wishes long subdued and cherished long. She wept with pity and delight, she blushed with love and virgin shame, and like the murmur of a dream, I heard her breathe my name. Her bosom heaved, she stepped aside, as conscious of my look she stepped. Then suddenly with timorous eye, she fled to me and wept. She half enclosed me with her arms, she pressed me with a meek embrace, and bending back her head looked up, and gazed upon my face. 'Twas partly love, and partly fear, and partly 'twas a bashful art, that I might rather feel than see the swelling of her heart. I calmed her fears, and she was calm, and told her love with virgin pride, and so I won my Genevieve, my bright and beauteous bride. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
All for Love by Lord Byron, recorded for LibriVox.org by Philoria. Oh, talk not to me of a name great in story. The days of our youth are the days of our glory, and the myrtle and ivy of sweet 22 are worth all your laurels, though ever so plenty. What are garlands and crowns to the brow that is wrinkled? 'Tis but as a dead flower with May dew besprinkled. Then away with all such from the head that is hoary. What care I for the wreaths that can only give glory? O Fame, if I e'er took delight in thy praises, 'twas less for the sake of thy high-sounding phrases, than to see the bright eyes of the dear one discover. She thought that I was not unworthy to love her. There chiefly I sought thee, there only I found thee. Her glance was the best of the race that surround thee. When it sparkled o'er aught that was bright in my story, I knew it was love, and I felt it was glory. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Lost Love by William Wordsworth. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Izzy Barbieri. She dwelt among the untrodden ways, beside the springs of Dove, a maid whom there were none to praise, and very few to love. A violet by a mossy stone, half hidden from the eye, fair as a star, when only one is shining in the sky. She lived unknown, and few could know when Lucy ceased to be, but she is in her grave, and oh, the difference to me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day by William Shakespeare, read for LibriVox.org by Paul Baguley. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou grow'st. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
She is Not Fair to Outward View by H. Coleridge, recorded for LibriVox.org. She is not fair to outward view, as many maidens be. Her loveliness I never knew until she smiled on me. Oh, then I saw her eye was bright, a well of love, a spring of light. But now her looks are coy and cold. To mine they ne'er reply, and yet I cease not to behold the love-light in her eye. Her very frowns are fairer far than smiles of other maidens are. End of poem, read by Laura Judith Bobrow, August 8, 2022. This recording is in the public domain. Music When Soft Voices Die by P.B.Shelley, recorded for LibriVox.org. Music, when soft voices die, vibrates in the memory. Odors, when sweet violets sicken, live within the sense they quicken. Rose leaves, when the rose is dead, are heaped for the beloved's bed. And so thy thoughts, when thou art gone, love itself shall slumber on. End of poem. Read by Laura Judith Barbaro, August 8th, 2022. This recording is in the public domain.
The True Beauty by T. Carew. Read for LibriVox.org by M. Lee. He that loves a rosy cheek or a coral lip admires, or from star-like eyes doth seek fuel to maintain his fires. As old time makes these decay, so his flames must waste away. But a smooth and steadfast mind, gentle thoughts, and calm desires, hearts with equal love combined, kindle never-dying fires. Where these are not, I despise lovely cheeks or lips or eyes. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To Dianame by R. Herrick. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Nancy Beard. Sweet, be not proud of those two eyes, which star-like sparkle in their skies. Nor be you proud that you can see all hearts your captives, yours yet free. Be you not proud of that rich hair, which wantons with the lovesick air, whenas that ruby which you wear, sunk from the tip of your soft ear, will last to be a precious stone, when all your world of beauty's gone. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Go Lovely Rose by E. Waller. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Andrea O'Donnell. Go, lovely rose, tell her that wastes her time and me, that now she knows when I resemble her to thee, how sweet and fair she seems to be. Tell her that's young and shuns to have her graces spied, that hadst thou sprung in deserts where no men abide, thou must have uncommended died. Small is the worth of beauty from the light retired. Bid her come forth, suffer herself to be desired, and not blush so to be admired. Then die, that she the common fate of all things rare may read in thee how small a part of time they share, that are so wondrous, sweet, and fair. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Blind Love by William Shakespeare. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Izzy Barbieri. O me, what eyes hath love put in my head, which have no correspondence with true sights? Or if they have, where is my judgment fled, that censures falsely what they see aright? If that be fair whereon my false eyes dote, what means the world to say it is not so? If it be not, then love doth well denote. Love's eye is not so true as all men's, no. How can it? Oh, how can love's eye be true, that it's so vexed with watching and with tears? No marvel then, though I mistake my view, the sun itself sees not till heaven clears. O cunning love, with tears thou keepest me blind, lest eyes well seeing thy foul faults should find. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
One Word is Too Often Profaned by P.B.Shelley. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Rose. One word is too often profaned for me to profane it. One feeling too falsely disdained for thee to disdain it. One hope is too like despair for prudence to smother, and pity from thee more dear than that from another. I can give not what men call love, but wilt thou accept not the worship the heart lifts above and the heavens reject not? The desire of the mouth for the star, of the night for the morrow, the devotion to something afar from the sphere of our sorrow? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Where Shall the Lover Rest? By Sir W. Scott. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Rose. Where shall the lover rest, whom the fates sever from his true maiden's breast, parted forever? Where through rose deep and high sound the far below? Where early violets die under the willow, Ilu Loro, soft shall be his pillow. There through the summer day cool streams are laving, there while the tempests sway, scarce are boughs waving. There thy rest shalt thou take, parted forever, never again to wake, never, oh never, Ilu Loro, never, oh never. Where shall the traitor rest, he the deceiver, who could win maiden's breast, ruin and leave her? In the lost battle, borne down by the flying, where Minkle's wars rattle with groans of the dying, Ilu Loro, there shall he be lying. Her wings shall the eagle flap o'er the false-hearted, his warm blood the wolf shall lap ere life be parted. Shame and dishonor sit by his grave ever, blessing shall hallow it, never, oh never, Ilu Loro, never, oh never. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Birthday by Christina Georgiana Rossetti. Read for LibriVox.org by M. Lee. My heart is like a singing bird whose nest is in a watered shoot. My heart is like an apple tree whose boughs are bent with thickest fruit. My heart is like a rainbow shell that paddles in a halcyon sea. My heart is gladder than all these because my love is come to me. Raise me a dais of silk and down, hang it with vair and purple dyes, carve it in doves and pomegranates, and peacocks with 100 eyes. Work it in gold and silver grapes, in leaves and silver fleur-de-lis, because the birthday of my life is come, my love is come to me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
From The Winter's Tale by William Shakespeare. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Izzy Barbieri. What you do still betters what is done. When you speak, sweet, I'd have you do it ever. When you sing, I'd have you buy and sell so. So give alms, pray so. And for the ordering of your affairs, to sing them too, when you do dance, I wish you a wave of the sea, that you might ever do nothing but that. Move still, still so, and own no other function. Each your doing, so singular in each particular, crowns what you are doing in the present deed, that all your acts are queens. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sonnets from the Portuguese by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Go from me, yet I feel that I shall stand henceforward in thy shadow. Never more alone upon the threshold of my door of individual life. I shall command the uses of my soul, nor lift my hand serenely in the sunshine as before. Without the sense of that which I forebore, thy touch upon the palm. The widest land doom takes to part us leaves thy heart in mine with pulses that beat double. What I do and what I dream include thee, as the wine must taste of its own grapes. And when I sue God for myself, he hears that name of thine, and sees within my eyes the tears of two. If thou must love me, let it be for naught except for love's sake only. Do not say, I love her for her smile, her look, her way of speaking gently, for a trick of thought that falls in well with mine, and certes brought a sense of pleasant ease on such a day. For these things in themselves, beloved, may be changed, or change for thee, and love so wrought may be unwrought so. Neither love me for thine own dear pities wiping my cheeks dry. A creature might forget to weep, who bore thy comfort long, and lose thy love thereby. But love me for love's sake, that evermore thou mayest love on, through love's eternity. Beloved, my beloved, when I think that thou wast in the world a year ago, what time I sat alone here in the snow, and saw no footprint, heard the silence sink no moment at thy voice, but link by link went counting all my chains, as if that so they never could fall off at any blow, struck by thy possible hand. Why, thus I drink of life's great cup of wonder, wonderful never to feel thee thrill the day or night with personal act or speech, nor ever cull some prescience of thee with the blossoms white thou sawest growing. Atheists are as dull who cannot guess God's presence out of sight. Is it indeed so? If I lay here dead, wouldst thou miss any life in losing mine? And would the sun for thee more coldly shine because of grave damps falling round my head? I marvelled, my beloved, when I read thy thoughts so in the letter. I am thine, but so much to thee? Can I pour thy wine while my hands tremble? Then my soul, instead of dreams of death, resumes life's lower range. Then love me, love, look on me, breathe on me. As brighter ladies do not count it strange for love to give up acres and degree, I yield the grave for thy sake, and exchange my near sweet view of heaven for earth with thee. Thou comest, all is said without a word. I sit beneath thy looks as children do in the noon sun, with souls that tremble through their happy eyelids from an unaverred yet prodigal inward joy. Behold, I erred in that last doubt, and yet I cannot rue the sin most, but the occasion, that we two should for a moment stand unministered by a mutual presence. Ah, keep near and close, thou dove-like help, and when my fears would rise, with thy broad heart serenely interpose. Brood down with thy divine sufficiencies these thoughts which tremble when bereft of those, like callow birds left desert to the skies. If I leave all for thee, wilt thou exchange and be all to me? Shall I never miss home talk and blessing and the common kiss that comes to each in turn, nor count it strange when I look up to drop on a new range of walls and floors, another home than this? Nay, wilt thou fill that place by me which is filled by dead eyes too tender to know change? That's hardest. If to conquer love has tried to conquer grief, tries more, as all things prove. For grief indeed is love, and grief beside. Alas, I have grieved so I am hard to love. Yet love me, wilt thou? Open thine heart wide, and fold within the wet wings of thy dove. Because thou hast the power and ownest the grace to look through and behind this mask of me, against which years have beat thus blanchingly with their reins, and behold my soul's true face, the dim and weary witness of life's race. Because thou hast the faith and love to see, through that same soul's distracting lethargy, the patient angel waiting for a place in the new heavens. Because nor sin nor woe nor God's infliction, nor death's neighbourhood, nor all which others viewing turn to go, nor all which makes me tired of all self-viewed. Nothing repels thee. Dearest, teach me so to pour out gratitude as thou dost good. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach, when feeling out of sight for the ends of being and ideal grace. I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need, by sun and candlelight. I love thee freely as men strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise. I love thee with the passion put to use in my old griefs, and with my childhood's faith. I love thee with a love I seem to lose with my lost saints. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life, and if God choose I shall but love thee better after death. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
From the Epithalamium by Edmund Spenser. Recorded for LibriVox.org. Open the temple gates unto my love. Open them wide that she may enter in. And all the posts adorn as doth behove, and all the pillars deck with garlands trim. For to receive this saint with honour due, that cometh in to you, with trembling steps and humble reverence, she cometh in before the Almighty's view. Of her, ye virgins, learn obedience, when so you come into those holy places, to humble your proud faces. Bring her up to the high altar, that she may the sacred ceremonies there partake, the which do endless matrimony make, and let the roaring organs loudly play the praises of the Lord in lively notes, the whiles with hollow throats the choristers the joyous anthem sing, that all the woods may answer and their echo ring. Behold, whiles she before the altar stands, hearing the holy priest that to her speaks, and blesseth her with his two happy hands. How the red roses flush up in her cheeks, and the pure snow with goodly vermeil stain, like crimson dyed in grain, that even the angels which continually about the sacred altar do remain, forget their service, and about her fly, oft peeping in her face, that seems more fair, the more they on it stare. But her sad eyes, still fastened on the ground, are governed with goodly modesty, that suffers not one look to glance awry, which may let in a little thought unsound. Why blush ye, love, to give to me your hand, the pledge of all our band? Sing, ye sweet angels, alleluia, sing, that all the woods may answer, and your echo ring. End of poem. Read by Linda Marie Nielsen, Vancouver, BC. This recording is in the public domain.
A Complaint by William Wordsworth. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Izzy Barbieri. There is a change, and I am poor. Your love hath been, nor long ago, a fountain at my fond heart's door, whose only business was to flow. And flow it did, not taking heed of its own bounty or my need. What happy moments did I count! Blessed was I than all bliss above, now for that consecrated fount of murmuring, sparkling, living love. What have I? Shall I dare to tell? A comfortless and hidden well, a well of love, it may be deep, I trust it is, and never dry. What matter if the waters sleep in silence and obscurity? Such change, and at the very door of my fond heart, hath made me poor. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To Anthea by Robert Herrick, recorded for LibriVox.org. Bid me to live, and I will live, thy Protestant to be, or bid me love, and I will give a loving heart to thee. A heart as soft, a heart as kind, a heart as sound and free, as in the whole world thou canst find, that heart I give to thee. Bid that heart stay, and it will stay, to honor thy decree, or bid it languish quite away, and shall do so for thee. Bid me to weep, and I will weep, while I have eyes to see, and having none, yet I will keep a heart to weep for thee. Bid me despair, and I'll despair under that cypress tree, or bid me die, and I will dare in death to die for thee. Thou art my life, my love, my heart, the very eyes of me, and hast command of every part to live and die for thee. End of poem. Read by Linda Marie Nielsen, Vancouver, BC. This recording is in the public domain.
Passages from Paradise Lost by John Milton. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Under his forming hands a creature grew, man-like but different sex, so lovely fair, that what seemed fair in all the world seemed now mean, or in her summed up, in her contained, and in her look, which from that time infused sweetness into my heart, unfelt before, and into all things from her air inspired, the spirit of love and amorous delight. She disappeared, and left me dark. I waked to find her, or for ever to deplore her loss, and other pleasures all abjure. When out of hope beheld her not far off, such as I saw her in my dreams, adorned with what all earth or heaven could bestow, to make her amiable. On she came, led by her heavenly Maker, though unseen, and guided by his voice, nor uninformed of nuptial sanctity and marriage rites. Grace was in all her steps, heaven in her eye, in every gesture dignity and love. If death consort with thee, death is to me as life. So forcible within my heart I feel the bond of nature draw me to my own in thee, for what thou art is mine. Our state cannot be severed, we are one flesh. To lose thee were to lose myself. With thee to go is to stay here. Without thee here to stay is to go hence unwilling. Thou to me art all things under heaven, all places thou, who for my wilful crime art banished hence. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Song, I Prithee Send Me Back My Heart by Sir John Suckling. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Audrey Fairchild. I prithee send me back my heart, since I cannot have thine. For if from yours you will not part, why then shouldst thou have mine? Yet now I think on't, let it lie. To find it were in vain, for thou'st a thief in either eye, would steal it back again. Why should two hearts in one breast lie, and yet not lodge together? O love, where is thy sympathy, if thus our breasts thou sever? But love is such a mystery, I cannot find it out. For when I think I'm best resolved, I then am in most doubt. Then farewell care, and farewell woe, I will no longer pine, for I'll believe I have her heart, as much as she has mine. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. A Match by Algernon Charles Swinburne. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Audrey Fairchild. If love were what the rose is, and I were like the leaf, our lives would grow together in sad or singing weather, blown fields or flowerful closes, green pleasure or grey grief. If love were what the rose is, and I were like the leaf. If I were what the words are, and love were like the tune, with double sound and single, delight our lips would mingle, with kisses glad as birds are that get sweet rain at noon. If I were what the words are, and love were like the tune. If you were life, my darling, and I your love were death, we'd shine and snow together, ere March made sweet the weather, with daffodil and starling, and hours of fruitful breath. If you were life, my darling, and I your love were death. If you were thrall to sorrow, and I were page to joy, we'd play for lives and seasons, with loving looks and treasons, and tears of night and morrow, and laughs of maid and boy. If you were thrall to sorrow, and I were page to joy. If you were April's lady, and I were lord in May, we'd throw with leaves for hours, and draw for days with flowers, till day like night were shady, and night were bright like day. If you were April's lady, and I were lord in May. If you were queen of pleasure, and I were king of pain, we'd hunt down love together, pluck out his flying feather, and teach his feet a measure, and find his mouth a rein. If you were queen of pleasure, and I were king of pain. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Lines by John Keats. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Unfelt, unheard, unseen, I've left my little queen, her languid arms in silver slumber lying. Ah, through their nestling touch, who can tell how much there is for madness, cruel or complying? Those fairy lids, how sleek! Those lips, how moist! They speak in ripest quiet shadows of sweet sounds. Into my fancy's ear melting a burden dear, how love doth know no fullness and no bounds. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
If to thy heart I were as near, by William Motherwell. Recorded for LibriVox.org. If to thy heart I were as near, as thou art near to mine, I'd hardly care though the year nay sun on earth should shine, my dear, nay sun on earth should shine. Twin starries are thy glancing een, our world they lit and mair, and gin that ye be my Christine, a blink to me ye'll spare, my dear. a blink to me you'll spare. My leesome May I've wooed too lang, aneath the Tristan tree. I've sung till a' the plantains rain. Will lays o' love for thee, my dear, will lays o' love for thee. The dew drops glisten on the green, the laverlocks lilt on high. Will forth and down the lane pristine, and kiss when nane is nigh, my dear, and kiss when nane is nigh. End of poem. Read by Linda Marie Nielsen, Vancouver, BC. This recording is in the public domain.
Kaylawhy by Frances W. Bourdillon. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Nancy Beard. If stars were really watching eyes of angel armies in the skies, I should forget all watchers there, and only for your glances care. And if your eyes were really stars, with leagues that none can meet for bars, to keep me from their longed-for day, I could not feel more far away. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Gathered Roses by Frances W. Bourdillon. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Nancy Beard. Only a bee made prisoner, caught in a gathered rose. Was he not ware a flower so fair, for the first gatherer grows? Only a heart made prisoner, going out free no more. Was he not ware a face so fair, must have been gathered before? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Time I've Lost in Wooing by Thomas Moore. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Nancy Beard. The time I've lost in wooing, in watching and pursuing, the light that lies in woman's eyes has been my heart's undoing. Though wisdom oft has sought me, I scorned the lore she brought me. My only books were woman's looks, and folly's all they've taught me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
John Anderson, My Joe, by Robert Burns. Recorded for LibriVox.org. John Anderson, my Joe, John, when we were first acquaint, your locks were like the raven, your bonny brow was brent. But now your brow is belled, John, your locks are like the snaw. But blessings on your frosty pow for John Anderson, my Joe. John Anderson, my Joe, John, we clamb the hill together, and mony a canty day, John, we've had wi' ane anither. Now we maun totter down, John, but hand in hand we'll go, and sleep together at the foot, John Anderson, my Joe. End of poem. Read by Linda Marie Nielsen, Vancouver, BC. This recording is in the public domain.
Faded Leaves by Matthew Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. The river. Still glides the stream, slow drops the boat, under the rustling poplar's shade. Silent the swans beside us float. None speaks, none heeds. Ah, turn thy head. Let those arch eyes now softly shine, that mocking mouth grows sweetly bland. Ah, let them rest, those eyes, on mine let rest thy lovely hand. My pent-up tears oppress my brain, my heart is swoln with love unsaid. Ah, let me weep and tell my pain, and on thy shoulder rest my head. Before I die, before the soul, which now is mine, must reattain immunity from my control, and wander round the world again. Before this teased or laboured heart for ever leaves its vain employ, dead to its deep habitual smart, and dead to hopes of future joy. Too late. Each on his own strict line we move, and some find death ere they find love. So far apart their lives are thrown from the twin soul that halves their own. And sometimes by still harder fate the lovers meet, but meet too late. Thy heart is mine, true, true, ah, true. Then, love, thy hand. Ah, no, adieu. Longing. Come to me in my dreams, and then by day I shall be well again, for then the night will more than pay the hopeless longing of the day. Come as thou camest 1,000 times, a messenger from radiant climes, and smile on thy new world, and be as kind to others as to me. Or as thou never camest in sooth, come now and let me dream it truth, and part my hair, and kiss my brow, and say, my love, why sufferest thou? Come to me in my dreams, and then by day I shall be well again, for then the night will more than pay the hopeless longing of the day. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Urania by Matthew Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. She smiles and will not sigh, while we for hopeless passion die. Yet she could love, those eyes declare, were but men nobler than they are. Eagerly once her gracious ken was turned upon the sons of men, but like the serious visage grew, she looked and smiled and saw them through. Our petty souls, our strutting wits, our laboured puny passion fits, ah, may she scorn them still till we scorn them as bitterly as she. Yet show her once, ye heavenly powers, one of some worthier race than ours, one for whose sake she once might prove how deeply she who scorns can love. His eyes be like the starry lights, his voice like sounds of summer nights, in all his lovely mien let pierce the magic of the universe. And she to him will reach her hand, and gazing in his eyes will stand, and know her friend, and weep for glee, and cry, long, long I've looked for thee. Then will she weep with smiles till then, coldly she mocks the sons of men. Till then her lovely eyes maintain their pure, unwavering, deep disdain. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Sir Lancelot and Queen Guinevere by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. A fragment. Like souls that balance joy and pain with tears and smiles from heaven again, the maidens spring upon the plain came in a sunlit fall of rain. In crystal vapour everywhere, blue isles of heaven laughed between, and far in forest deeps unseen, the topmost elm tree gathered green from draughts of balmy air. Sometimes the linnet piped his song, sometimes the throstle whistled strong, sometimes the sparhawk wheeled along, hushed all the groves from fear of wrong. By grassy capes with fuller sound, in curves the yellowing river ran, and drooping chestnut buds began to spread into the perfect fan above the teeming ground. Then, in the boyhood of the year, Sir Lancelot and Queen Guinevere rode through the coverts of the deer, with blissful treble ringing clear. She seemed a part of joyous spring, a gown of grass-green silk she wore, buckled with golden clasps before, a light green tuft of plumes she bore, closed in a golden ring. Now on some twisted ivy net, now by some tinkling rivulet, in mosses mixed with violet, her cream-white mule his pastern set. And fleeter now she skimmed the plains than she whose elfin prancer springs by night to eerie warblings, when all the glimmering moorland rings with jingling bridle reins. As she fled fast through sun and shade, the happy winds upon her played, blowing the ringlet from the braid. She looked so lovely as she swayed the rein with dainty finger tips, a man had given all other bliss, and all his worldly worth for this, to waste his whole heart in one kiss upon her perfect lips. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Guinevere by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. But I was first of all the kings who drew the knighthood errant of this realm, and all the realms together under me their head, in that fair order of my table round, a glorious company, the flower of men, to serve as model for the mighty world, and be the fair beginning of a time. I made them lay their hands in mine and swear to reverence the king as if he were their conscience, and their conscience as their king, to break the heathen and uphold the Christ, to ride abroad redressing human wrongs, to speak no slander, no, nor listen to it, to lead sweet lives in purest chastity, to love one maiden only, cleave to her, and worship her by years of noble deeds, until they won her, for indeed I knew of no more subtle master under heaven than is the maiden passion for a maid. Not only to keep down the base in man, but teach high thought and amiable words, and courtliness, and the desire of fame, and love of truth, and all that makes a man. Yet think not that I come to urge thy crimes, I did not come to curse thee, Guinevere. I, whose vast pity almost make me die, to see thee laying there thy golden head, my pride in happier summers, at my feet, the wrath which forced my thoughts on that fierce law, the doom of treason and the flaming death, when first I learnt thee hidden here, is past. The pang, which while I weighed thy heart with one, too wholly true to dream untruth in thee, made my tears burn, is also past in part, and all is past. The sin is sinned, and lo, I forgive thee, as eternal God forgives. do thou for thine own soul the rest. But how to take last leave of all I loved? O golden hair with which I used to play, not knowing, O imperial moulded form, and beauty such as never woman wore, until it came a kingdom's curse with thee. I cannot touch thy lips, they are not mine, but Lancelot's, nay, they never were the king's. I cannot take thy hand, that too is flesh, and in the flesh thou hast sinned, and mine own flesh, here looking down on thine polluted cries, I loathe thee, yet not less, O Guinevere, for I was ever virgin save for thee. My love through flesh hath wrought into my life, so far that my doom is I love thee still. Let no man dream but that I love thee still, perchance, and so thou purify thy soul, and so thou lean on our fair Father Christ. Hereafter in that world where all are pure, we two may meet before high God, and thou wilt spring to me and claim me thine, and know I am thine husband. Not a smaller soul, nor Lancelot, nor another. Leave me that, I charge thee, my last hope. Now must I hence. Through the thick night I hear the trumpet blow. They summon me their king to lead mine hosts, far down to that great battle in the west, where I must strike against the man they call my sister's son. No kin of mine, who leagues with lords of the white horse, heathen and knights, traitors, and strike him dead, and meet myself, death, or I know not what mysterious doom, and thou remaining here wilt learn the event. But hither shall I never come again, never lie by thy side, see thee no more. Farewell. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Although Thou Maun Never Be Mine by Robert Burns. Recorded for LibriVox.org. Although thou maun never be mine, although even hope is denied, 'tis sweeter for thee despairing than aught in the world beside. Jessie. I mourn through the gay gaudy day, as hopeless I muse on thy charms, but welcome the dream, O sweet slumber, for then I am locked in thy arms, Jessie. I guess by the dear angel's smile, I guess by the love rolling but why urge the tender confession 'gainst fortune's cruel decree? Jessie. End of poem. Read by Linda Marie Nielsen, Vancouver, BC. This recording is in the public domain.
Changes by Robert Bulwer Lytton. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Whom first we love, you know, we seldom wed. Time rules us all. And life indeed is not the thing we planned it out ere hope was dead. And then we women cannot choose our lot. Much must be borne which it is hard to bear, much given away which it were sweet to keep. God help us all, who need indeed His care, and yet I know the shepherd loves his sheep. My little boy begins to babble now upon my knee his earliest infant prayer. He has his father's eager eyes, I know, and they say too his mother's sunny hair. But when he sleeps and smiles upon my knee, and I can feel his light breath come and go, I think of one, heaven help and pity me, who loved me and whom I loved long ago. Who might have been, what I dare not think. We are all changed. God judges for us best. God help us to do our duty and not to shrink, and trust in heaven humbly for the rest. But blame us women not if some appear too cold at times, and some too gay and light. Some griefs gnaw deep, some woes are hard to bear. Who knows the past, and who can judge us right? Ah, were we judged by what we might have been, and not by what we are, too apt to fall. My little child, he sleeps and smiles between these thoughts and me. In heaven we shall know all. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Two Loves by Adelaide Ann Procter. Read for LibriVox.org by Redrun. Deep within my heart of hearts, dear, bound with all its strings, two loves are together reigning, both are crowned like kings. While my life, still uncomplaining, rests beneath their wings. So they both will rule my heart, dear, till it cease to beat. No sway can be deeper, stronger, truer, more complete, growing as it lasts the longer, sweeter and more sweet. One all life and time transfigures, piercing through and through meaner things with magic splendor, old yet ever new. This, so strong and yet so tender, is my love for you. Should it fail, forgive my doubting in this world of pain. Yet my other love would ever steadfastly remain, and I know that I could never turn to that in vain. Though its radiance may be fainter, yet its task is wide, for it lives to comfort sorrows, strengthen, calm, and guide, and from trust and honor borrows all its peace and pride. Will you blame my dreaming, even if the first were flown? Ah, I would not live without it, it is all your own. And the other, can you doubt it? Yours and yours alone. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
King and Slave by Adelaide Ann Procter. Recorded for LibriVox.org. If in my soul, dear, an omen should dwell, bidding me pause ere I love thee too well, if the whole circle of noble and wise with stern forebodings between us should rise, I will tell them, dear, that love reigns, a king, where storms cannot reach him and words cannot sting. He counts it dishonor his faith to recall. He trusts, and forever he gives and gives all. I will tell thee, dear, that love is a slave who dreads thought of freedom as life dreads the grave. And if doubt or peril of change there may be, such fear would but drive him still nearer to thee. End of poem. Read by Linda Marie Nielsen, Vancouver, BC. This recording is in the public domain.
Love by Mrs. Browning. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. We cannot live except thus mutually we alternate, aware or unaware, the reflex act of life. And when we bear our virtue onward most impulsively, most full of invocation, and to be most instantly compellent, certes, there we live most life, whoever breathes most air and counts his dying years by sun and sea. But when a soul, by choice and conscience, to throw out her full force on another soul. The conscience and the concentration both make mere life love. For life in perfect whole and aim consummated is love in sooth, as nature's magnet heat rounds pole with pole. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Fidelis by Adelaide Ann Procter, recorded for LibriVox.org. You have taken back the promise that you spoke so long ago, taken back the heart you gave me. I must even let it go. Where love once had breathed, pride dieth. So I struggled, but in vain, first to keep the links together, then to piece the broken chain. But it might not be so freely. All your friendship I restore, and the heart that I had taken as my own for evermore. No shade of reproach shall touch you. Dread no more a claim from me. But I will not have you fancy that I count myself as free. I am bound by the old promise. What can break that golden chain? Not even the words that you have spoken, or the sharpness of my pain. Do you think because you fail me, and draw back your hand today, that from out the heart I gave you, my strong love can fade away? It will live, no eyes may see it. In my soul it will lie deep, hidden from all, but I shall feel it, often stirring in its sleep. So remember that the friendship, which you now think poor and vain, will endure in hope and patience till you ask for it again. Perhaps in some long twilight hour, like those we have known of old, when past shadows gather round you, and your present friends grow cold, you may stretch your hands out towards me. Ah, you will, I know not when. I shall nurse my love and keep it faithfully for you till then. End of poem. Read by Linda Marie Nielsen, Vancouver, BC. This recording is in the public domain.
A Love Token by Adelaide Ann Procter. Read for LibriVox.org by Redrun. Do you grieve no costly offering to the lady you can make? One there is, and gifts less worthy queens have stooped to take. Take a heart of virgin silver, fashion it with heavy blows, cast it into love's hot furnace when it fiercest glows. With pain's sharpest point transfix it, and then carve in letters fair tender dreams and quaint devices, fancies sweet and rare. Set within it hope's blue sapphire, many changing opal fears, blood-red ruby stones of daring, mixed with pearly tears. And when you have wrought and labored till the gift is all complete, you may humbly lay your offering at the lady's feet. Should her mood perchance be gracious, with disdainful smiling pride, she will place it with the trinkets glittering at her side. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To Mary in Heaven by Robert Burns, recorded for LibriVox.org. Thou, lingering star, with lessening ray, that lovest to greet the early morn, Again thou usher'st in the day. My Mary from my soul was torn. O Mary, dear departed shade, where is thy place of blissful rest? Seest thou thy lover lowly laid? Hear'st thou the groans that rend his breast? That sacred hour can I forget? Can I forget the hallowed grove, where by the winding ire we met, to live one day of parting love? Eternity will not efface those records dear of transports past, thy image at our last embrace. Ah, little thought we 'twas our last. Ere gurgling kissed his pebbled shore, o'erhung with wildwood's thickening green, the fragrant birch and hawthorn hoar twined amorous round the raptured scene. The flowers sprang wanton to be pressed, the birds sang love on every spray, till too soon, the glowing west proclaimed the speed of winged day. Still o'er these scenes my memory wakes, and fondly broods with miser care. Time but the impression deeper makes, as streams their channels deeper wear. My Mary, dear departed shade, where is thy blissful place of rest? Seest thou thy lover lowly laid? Hearest thou the groans that rend his breast? End of poem. Read by Kerry Adams, your book voice, at Mesa, Arizona, on the 7th of August, 2022. This recording is in the public domain.
Marguerite Alone at Her Spinning Wheel by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. From Faust. My heart is oppressed, my peace is o'er. I know no rest, no, never more. The world's a grave where he is not, and grief is now my bitter lot. My wildered brain is overwrought, my feeble senses are distraught. My heart's oppressed, my peace is o'er. I know no rest, no, never more. For him I watch the livelong day, for him alone abroad I stray. His lofty step, his bearing high, the smile of his lip, the power of his eye, his witching words, their tones of bliss, his hand's fond pressure, and then his kiss. My heart's oppressed, my peace is o'er. I know no rest, no, never more. My bosom aches to feel him near. Ah, could I clasp and fold him here! In love's fond blisses entranced I'd lie, and die on his kisses in ecstasy. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Margaret to Dulcino by Charles Kingsley. Recorded for LibriVox.org. Ask if I love thee. Oh, smiles cannot tell. Plainer what tears are now showing too well. Had I not loved thee, my sky had been clear. Had I not loved thee, I had not been here, weeping by thee. Ask if I love thee, how else could I borrow pride from man's slander and strength from my sorrow? Laugh when they sneer at the fanatic's bride, knowing no bliss save to toil and abide. weeping by thee. End of poem. Read by Linda Marie Nielsen, Vancouver, BC. This recording is in the public domain. Dulcino to Margaret by Charles Kingsley, recorded for LibriVox.org. The world goes up and the world goes down, and the sunshine follows the rain, and yesterday's sneer and yesterday's frown can never come over again. Sweet wife, no, never come over again. For woman is warm, though man be cold, and the night will follow the day, till the heart which at even was weary and old can rise in the morning gay. Sweet wife, to its work in the morning gay. End of poem. Read by Linda Marie Nielsen, Vancouver, BC. This recording is in the public domain.
Love's Omnipresence by J. Sylvester. Read for LibriVox.org by Stepheather. Were I as base as is the lowly plain, and you, my love, as high as heaven above, yet should the thoughts of me, your humble swain, ascend to heaven, in honor of my love. Were I as high as heaven above the plain, and you, my love, as humble and as low as are the deepest bottoms of the main, wheresoe'er you were, with you my love should go. Were you the earth, dear love, and I the skies, my love should shine on you like to the sun, and look upon you with 10,000 eyes, till heaven waxed blind, and till the world were done. Wheresoe'er I am, below or else above you, wheresoe'er you are, my heart shall truly love you. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Inclusions by Mrs. Browning, recorded for LibriVox.org. 1. Oh, wilt thou have my hand, dear, to lie along in thine? As a little stone in a running stream, it seems to lie and pine. Now drop the poor pale hand, dear, unfit to plight with thine. 2. Oh, wilt thou have my cheek, dear, drawn closer to thine own? My cheek is white, my cheek is worn by many a tear run down. Now leave a little space, dear, lest it should wet thine own. 3. Oh, must thou have my soul, dear, commingled with thy soul? Red grows the cheek and warm the hand, the part is in the whole. Nor hands nor cheeks keep separate when soul is joined to soul. End of poem. Read by Linda Marie Nielsen, Vancouver, BC. This recording is in the public domain. Insufficiency by Mrs. Browning, recorded for LibriVox.org. 1. There is no one beside thee, and no one above thee. Thou standest alone, as the nightingale sings. Yet my words that would praise thee are impotent things, for none can express thee, though all should approve thee. I love thee so, dear, that I only can love thee. 2. Say, what can I do for thee? Weary thee, grieve thee, lean on my shoulder, new burdens to add? Weep my tears over thee, making thee sad? Oh, hold me not, love me not, let me retrieve thee. I love thee so, dear, that I only can leave thee. End of poem, read by Linda Marie Nielsen, Vancouver, BC. This recording is in the public domain.
In wunderschönen Monat Mai by Heinrich Heine, translated by Sir Theodore Martin, recorded for LibriVox.org. 'Twas in the glorious month of May, when all the buds were blowing, I felt, ah me, how sweet it was, love in my heart a-growing. 'Twas in the glorious month of May, when all the birds were quiring, in burning words I told her all, my yearning, my aspiring. End of poem. Read by Kerry Adams, your book voice, at Mesa, Arizona, on the 1st of August, 2022. This recording is in the public domain.
When ich in deiner Augen seh, by Heinrich Heine. Translated by Alma Stretto. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Lawley. When ich in deiner Augen seh. Dear, when I look into thine eyes, my deepest sorrow straightway flies. But when I kiss thy mouth, ah, then no thought remains of bygone pain. And when I lean upon thy breast, no dream of heaven could be more blessed. But when thou sayest thou lovest me, I fall to weeping bitterly. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Thou Lovest Me Not by Heinrich Heine. Translated by Mrs. Browning. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Lawley. Thou lovest me not, thou lovest me not. 'Tis scarcely worth a sigh. Let me look in thy face, and no king in his place is a gladder man than I. Thou hatest me well, thou hatest me well. Thy little red mouth has told. Let it reach me a kiss, and, however it is, my child, I am well consoled. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Du bist wie eine Blume by Heinrich Heine, translated by Kate Freilegrath Craker, recorded for LibriVox.org. E'en as a lovely flower, so fair, so pure thou art, I gaze on thee, and sadness comes stealing o'er my heart. My hands I fain had folded upon thy soft brown hair, praying that God may keep thee so lovely, pure, and fair. End of poem. Read by Kerry Adams, your book voice, at Mesa, Arizona, on the 1st of August, 2022. This recording is in the public domain.
Ad Phenum by Heinrich Heine. Translated by Mrs. Browning. Recorded for LibriVox.org. 1. The years they come and go, the races drop in the grave, yet never the love doth sow, which in my heart I have. 2. Could I see thee but once, one day, and sink down so on my knee, and die in thy sight while I say, Lady, I love but thee. End of poem. Read by Linda Marie Nielsen, Vancouver, BC. This recording is in the public domain.
Sapphire sind die Augen dein by Heinrich Heine, translated by Alma Stratel, recorded for LibriVox.org. Two sapphires, those dear eyes of thine, soft as the skies above thee. Thrice happy is the man to whom those dear eyes say, I love thee. A diamond is thy heart that gleams with rays of purest fire. Thrice happy is the man for whom it glows with love's desire. Two rubies are those lips of thine, unrivaled in fresh glory. Thrice happy is the man to whom they whisper their love story. Could I but find that lucky man, but meet that happy lover, meet him alone in some dark wood, his joy would soon be over. End of poem. Read by Kerry Adams, your book voice, at Mesa, Arizona, on the 12th of August, 2022. This recording is in the public domain.
Tristram and Iseult by Matthew Arnold. Recorded for LibriVox.org. Narration by Redrun.
Tristram by Greg Giordano.
The Page by Alan Lawley.
Is she not come? The messenger was sure. Prop me upon the pillows once again. Raise me, my page, this cannot long endure. Christ, what a night! How the sleet whips the pane! What lights will those out to the northward be?
The lanterns of the fishing boats at sea.
Soft! Who is that stands by the dying fire?
Iseult.
Ah, not the Iseult I desire.
What night is this, so weak and pale, though the locks are yet brown on his noble head, propped on pillows in his bed, gazing seaward for the light of some ship that fights the gale on this wild December night. Over the sick man's feet is spread a dark green forest dress. A gold harp leans against the bed, ruddy in the fire's light. I know him by his harp of gold, famous in Arthur's court of old. I know him by his forest dress, the peerless hunter, harper, knight, Tristram of Lyonesse. What lady is this whose silk attire gleams so rich in the light of the fire, the ringlets on her shoulders lying, in their flitting lustre vying with the clasp of burnished gold which her heavy robe doth hold? Her looks are mild, her fingers slight as the driven snow are white, but her cheeks are sunk and pale. Is it that the bleak sea gale, beating from the Atlantic Sea on this coast of Brittany, nips too keenly the sweet flower? Is it that a deep fatigue hath come on her, a chilly fear, passing all her youthful hour, spinning with her maidens here, listlessly through the window bars, gazing seawards many a league from her lonely shore-built tower, while the knights are at the wars? Or perhaps has her young heart felt already some deeper smart of those that in secret the heartstrings rive, leaving her sunk and pale, though fair? Who is this snowdrop by the sea? I know her by her mildness rare, her snow-white hands, her golden hair.
I know her by her rich silk dress, and her fragile loveliness. The sweetest Christian soul alive, Iseult of Brittany. Iseult of Brittany, but where is that other Iseult fair? That proud first Iseult, Cornwall's queen? She whom Tristram's ship of yore from Ireland to Cornwall bore, to Tintagel, to the side of King Mark to be his bride. She who, as they voyaged, quaffed with Tristram that spiced magic draught, which since then forever rolls through their blood and binds their souls, working love, but working teen. There were two Iseults who did sway each her hour of Tristram's day, but one possessed his waning time, the other his resplendent prime. Behold her here, the patient flower, who possessed his darker hour. Iseult of the snow-white hand watches pale by Tristram's bed. She is here who had his gloom. Where art thou who hadst his bloom? One such kiss as those of yore might thy dying knight restore. Does the love draught work no more? Art thou cold, or false, or dead, Iseult of Ireland? Loud howls the wind, sharp patters the rain, and the knight sinks back on his pillows again. He is weak with fever and pain, and his spirit is not clear. Hark! he mutters in his sleep, as he wanders far from here, changes place and time of year, and his closed eye doth sweep o'er some fair unwintry sea, not this fierce Atlantic deep, while he mutters brokenly,
The calm sea shines, loose hang the vessel's sails. Before us are the sweet green fields of Wales, and overhead the cloudless sky of May. Ah, would I were in those green fields at play, not pent on shipboard this delicious day. Tristram, I pray thee of thy courtesy, reach me my golden cup that stands by thee, but pledge me in it first for courtesy. Ha! Dost thou start? Are thy lips blanched like mine? Child, 'tis no water this, 'tis poisoned wine, Iseult.
Ah, sweet angels, let him dream, keep his eyelids, let him seem not this fever-wasted wight, thinned and paled before his time, but the brilliant youthful knight in the glory of his prime, sitting in the gilded barge at thy side, thou lovely charge, bending gaily o'er thy hand, Iseult of Ireland. And she too, that princess fair, if her bloom be now less rare, let her have her youth again, let her be as she was then. Let her have her proud dark eyes, and her petulant quick replies. Let her sweep her dazzling hand with its gesture of command, and shake back her raven hair with the old imperious air. As of old, so let her be, that first Iseult, princess bright, chatting with her youthful knight, as he steers her o'er the sea, quitting at her father's will the green isle where she was bred, and her bower in Ireland for the surge-beat Cornish strand, where the prince whom she must wed dwells on loud Tintagel's hill, high above the sounding sea. And that golden cup her mother gave her, that her future lord gave her, that King Mark and she might drink it on their marriage day, and forever love each other. Let her, as she sits on board, ah, sweet saints, unwittingly see it shine and take it up, and to Tristram laughing say, Sir Tristram, of thy courtesy, pledge me in my golden cup. Let them drink it, let their hands tremble and their cheeks be flame, as they feel the fatal bands of a love they dare not name. With a wild, delicious pain twine about their hearts again. Let the early summer be once more round them, and the sea, blue and o'er its mirror kind, let the breath of the May wind, wandering through their drooping sails, die on the green fields of Wales. Let a dream like this restore what his eye must see no more.
Chill blows the wind, the pleasaunce walks are drear. Madcap, what jest was this, to meet me here? Were feet like those made for so wild a way? The southern winter parlour by my fay had been the likeliest trysting place to-day. Tristram, nay, nay, thou must not take my hand. Tristram, sweet love, we are betrayed, outplanned. Fly, save thyself, save me, I dare not stay. One last kiss first, 'tis vain to horse away.
Ah, sweet saints, his dream doth move faster surely than it should, from the fever in his blood. All the springtime of his love is already gone and past, and instead thereof is seen its winter which endureth still, Tinigel on its surge-beat hill, the pleasance walks, the weeping queen, the flying leaves, the straining blast, and that long wild kiss, their last. And this rough December night and his burning fever pain mingle with his hurrying dream, till they rule it, till he seem the pressed fugitive again, the love-desperate, banished knight, with a fire in his brain, flying o'er the stormy main. Whither does he wander now? Haply in his dreams the wind wafts him here, and lets him find the lovely orphan child again, in her castle by the coast, the youngest, fairest chatelaine that this realm of France can boast, our snowdrop by the Atlantic sea, Iseult of Brittany. And for through the haggard air, the stained arms, the matted hair of that stranger knight ill-starred, there gleamed something which recalled the Tristram who in better days was Lancelot's guest at Joyous Gard, welcomed here and here installed, tended of his fever here. Haply he seems again to move his young guardian's heart with love, in his exiled loneliness, in his stately deep distress, without a word, without a tear. Ah, 'tis well he should retrace his tranquil life in this lone place, his gentle bearing at the side of his timid youthful bride, his long rambles by the shore on winter evenings when the roar of the near waves came sadly grand through the dark up the drowned sand, or his endless reveries in the woods where the gleams play, on the grass under the trees, passing the long summer's day, idle as a mossy stone in the forest depths alone, the chase neglected and his hound couched beside him on the ground. Ah, what troubles on his brow! Hither let him wander now, hither to the quiet hours passed among this heath of ours, by the grey Atlantic sea, hours if not of ecstasy, from violent anguish surely free.
All red with blood the whirling river flows, the wide plain rings, the dazed air throbs with blows. Upon us are the chivalry of Rome, their spears are down, their steeds are bathed in foam. Up, Tristram, up, men cry, thou moonstruck knight, what foul fiend rides thee on into the fight? Above the din, her voice is in my ears. I see her form glide through the crossing spears. Iseult.
Ah, he wanders forth again. We cannot keep him now as then. There's a secret in his breast which will never let him rest. These musing fits in the green wood, they cloud the brain, they dull the blood. His sword is sharp, his horse is good. Beyond the mountains will he see the famous towns of Italy, and label with the blessed sign the heathen Saxons on the Rhine. At Arthur's side he fights once more with the Roman Emperor. There's many a gay knight where he goes will help him to forget his care, the march, the leaguer, heaven's blithe air, the neighing steeds, the ringing blows. Sick pining comes not where these are. Ah, what boots it that the jest lightens every other brow? What that every other breast dances as the trumpets blow? If one's heart beats not light on the waves of the tossed fight, if one's self cannot get free from the clog of misery, thy lovely youthful wife grows pale, watching by the salt sea tide, with her children at her side, for the gleam of thy white sail. Home, Tristram, to thy halls again, to our lonely sea complain, to our forests tell thy pain.
All round the forest sweeps off blackened shade, but it is moonlight in the open glade, and in the bottom of the glade shine clear the forest chapel and the fountain near. I think I have a fever in my blood. Come, let me leave the shadow of this wood, ride down and bathe my hot brow in the flood. Mild shines the cold spring in the moon's clear light. God, 'tis her face plays in the waters bright. Fair love, she says, canst thou forget so soon, at this soft hour, under this sweet moon? Iseult.
Ah, poor soul, if this be so, only death can balm thy woe. The solitudes of the green wood had no medicine for thy mood. The rushing battle cleared thy blood as little as did solitude. Ah, his eyelids slowly break their hot seals and let him wake. What new change shall we now see? A happier? Worse it cannot be.
Is my page here? Come, turn me to the fire. Upon the window panes the moon shines bright. The wind is down, but she'll not come tonight. Ah, no, she is asleep in Cornwall now. Far hence her dreams are fair, smooth is her brow. Of me she recks not, nor my vain desire. I have had dreams, my page. Would take a score years from a strong man's age, and with a blood like mine will leave, I fear, scant leisure for a second messenger. My princess, art thou there? Sweet, 'tis too late, to bed and sleep. My fever is gone by. To-night my page shall keep me company. Where do the children sleep? Kiss them for me. Poor child, thou art almost as pale as I. This comes of nursing long and watching late. To bed, good night.
She left the gleam-lit fireplace, she came to the bedside. She took his hands in hers, her tears down on her slender fingers rained. She raised her eyes upon his face, not with a look of wounded pride, a look as if the heart complained. Her look was like a sad embrace, the gaze of one who can divine a grief and sympathize. Sweet flower, thy children's eyes are not more innocent than thine, but they sleep in sheltered rest like helpless babes in the warm nest. On the castle's southern side, where feebly comes the mournful roar of buffeting wind and surging tide, through many a room and corridor, full on their window the moon's ray makes their chamber as bright as day. It shines upon the blank white walls, and on the snowy pillow falls, and on two angel heads doth play. Turned to each other, the eyes closed, the lashes on the cheeks reposed, round each sweet brow the cap close set hardly lets peep the golden hair. Through the soft opened lips the air scarcely moves the coverlet. One little wandering arm is thrown at random on the counterpane, and often the fingers close in haste, as if their baby owner chased the butterflies again. This stir they have, and this alone. But else they are so still. Ah, tired madcaps, you lie still. But were you at the window now, to look forth on the fairy sight of your illumined haunts by night, to see the park glades where you play, far lovelier than they are by day, to see the sparkle on the eaves, and upon every giant bough of those old oaks whose wet red leaves are jeweled with bright drops of rain, how would your voices run again? And far beyond the sparkling trees of the castle park one sees the bare heaths spreading, clear as day, moor behind moor, far away, into the heart of Brittany, and here and there locked by the land, long inlets of smooth glittering sea, and many a stretch of watery sand. All shining in the white moonbeams, but you see fairer in your dreams. What voices are these on the clear night air? What lights in the court? What steps on the stair? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Tristram and Iseult Part 2, Iseult of Ireland, by Matthew Arnold. Recorded for LibriVox.org. Narration by Redrun.
Tristram, read by Greg Giordano.
Iseult, read by Elise Rochelle.
Huntsman, read by Alan Mapstone.
Dames, read by Step Heather.
Raise the light, my page, that I may see her. Thou art come at last, then, haughty queen. Long I've waited, long I've fought my fever. Late thou comest, cruel thou hast been.
Blame me not, poor sufferer, that I tarried. Bound I was, I could not break the band. Chide not with the past, but feel the present. I am here, we meet, I hold thy hand.
Thou art come indeed, thou hast rejoined me, thou hast dared it, but too late to save. Fear not now that men should tax thine honour. I am dying, build, thou mayest, my grave.
Tristram, for love of heaven, speak kindly. What, I hear these bitter words from thee. Sick with grief I am, and faint with travel. Take my hand, dear Tristram, look on me.
I forgot, thou comest from thy voyage. Yes, the spray is on thy cloak and hair, but thy dark eyes are not dimmed, proud Iseult, and thy beauty never was more fair.
Oh, harsh flatterer, let alone my beauty. I, like thee, have left my youth afar. Take my hand and touch these wasted fingers. See my cheek and lips, how white they are.
Thou art paler, but thy sweet charm, Iseult, would not fade with the dull years away. Ah, how fair thou standest in the moonlight! I forgive thee, Iseult, thou wilt stay.
Fear me not, I will always be with thee. I will watch thee, tend thee, soothe thy pain, sing thee tales of true long-parted lovers joined at evening of their days again.
No, thou shalt not speak. I should be finding something altered in thy courtly tone. Sit by me. I will think. We've lived so in the green wood all our lives alone.
Altered, Tristram? Not in courts, believe me. Love like mine is altered in the breast. Courtly life is light and cannot reach it. It lives because so deep suppressed. What, thou thinkest men speak in courtly chambers words by which the wretched are consoled? What, thou thinkest this aching brow was cooler, circled, Tristram, by a band of gold? Royal state with Mark, my deep-wronged husband. That was bliss to make my sorrows flee. Silken courtiers whispering honeyed nothings, those were friends to make me false to thee. On which, if both our lots were balanced, was indeed the heaviest burden thrown. Thee a pining exile in thy forest, me a smiling queen upon my throne. Vain and strange debate where both have suffered, both have passed a youth repressed and sad. Both have brought their anxious day to evening and have now short space for being glad. Joined we are henceforth, nor will thy people, nor thy younger Iseult take it ill that a formal rival shares her office when she sees her humbled, pale, and still. I a fated watcher by thy pillow, I a statue on thy chapel floor, poured in prayer before the Virgin Mother, rouse no anger, make no rivals more. She will cry, is this the foe I dreaded? This his idol, this that royal bride? Ah, an hour of health would purge his eyesight. Stay, pale queen, forever by my side. Hush, no words, that smile I see forgives me. I am now thy nurse, I bid thee sleep. Close thine eyes, this flooding moonlight blinds them. Nay, all's well again. Thou must not weep.
I am happy, yet I feel there's something swells my heart and takes my breath away. Through a mist I see thee. Near, come nearer. Bend down. I yet have much to say.
Heaven, his head sinks back upon the pillow. Tristram, Tristram, let thy heart not fail. Call on God and on the holy angels. What love, courage! Christ, he is so pale.
Hush, 'tis vain. I feel my end approaching. This is what my mother said should be, when the fierce pains took her in the forest, the deep draughts of death in bearing me. Son, she said, thy name shall be of sorrow. Tristram art thou called for my death's sake. So she said, and died in the drear forest. Grief since then his home with me doth make. I am dying. Start not, nor look wildly. Me, thy living friend, thou canst not save. But since living we were ununited, go not far, O Iseult, from my grave. Close mine eyes, then seek the Princess Iseult. Speak her fair, she is of royal blood. Say, I charged her that thou stay beside me. She will grant it, she is kind and good. Now to sail the seas of death I leave thee. One last kiss upon the living shore.
Tristram, Tristram, stay, receive me with thee. Iseult leaves thee, Tristram, nevermore.
You see them clear, the moon shines bright. Slow, slow, and softly where she stood, she sinks upon the ground, her hood had fallen back, her arms, outspread, still hold her lover's hands, her head is bowed half buried on the bed. O'er the blanched sheet her raven hair lies in disordered streams, and there, strung like white stars, the pearls still are, and the golden bracelets, heavy and rare, flash on her white arms still, the very same which yesternight flashed in the silver sconce's light, when the feast was gay and the laughter loud in Tynigel's palace proud. But then they decked a restless ghost, with hot flushed cheeks and brilliant eyes, and quivering lips on which the tide of courtly speech abruptly died, and a glance which over the crowded floor, the dancers and the festive host, flew ever to the door, that the knights eyed her in surprise, and the dames whispered scoffingly,
Her moods, good lack, they pass like showers, but yesternight and she would be as pale and still as withered flowers, and now tonight she laughs and speaks, and has a colour in her cheeks. Christ keep us from such fantasy.
Yes, now the longing is o'erpast, which, dogged by fear and fought by shame, shook her weak bosom day and night, consumed her beauty like a flame, and dimmed it like the desert blast. And though the curtains hide her face, yet were it lifted to the light, the sweet expression of her brow would charm the gazer till his thought erased the ravages of time, filled up the hollow cheek, and brought a freshness back as of her prime. So healing is her quiet now, so perfectly the lines express a tranquil, settled loveliness, her younger rival's purest grace. The air of the December night steals coldly around the chamber bright, where those lifeless lovers be. Swinging with it in the light flaps the ghost-like tapestry, and on the arras wrought you see a stately huntsman clad in green, and round him a fresh forest scene. On that clear forest knoll he stays, with his pack round him, and delays. He stares and stares, with troubled face, at this huge gleam-lit fireplace, at that bright iron-figured door, and those blown rushes on the floor. He gazes down into the room, with heated cheeks and flurried air, and to himself he seems to say,
What place is this? And who are they? Who is that kneeling lady fair? And on his pillows that pale knight, who seems of marble on a tomb. How comes it here, this chamber bright, through whose mullioned windows clear the castle court, all wet with rain, the drawbridge and the moat appear, and then the beach, and marked with spray the sunken reefs, and far away the unquiet bright Atlantic plain? What? Has some glamour made me sleep, and sent me with my dogs to sweep by night, with boisterous bugle peal, through some old seaside nightly hall, not in the free green wood at all? That knight's asleep, and at her prayer that lady by the bed doth kneel. Then hush, thou boisterous bugle peal.
The wild boar rustles in his lair, the fierce hounds snuff the tainted air, but lord and hounds keep rooted there. Cheer, cheer thy dogs into the brake, O hunter, and without a fear thy golden tasselled bugle blow, and through the glades thy pastime take, for thou wilt rouse no sleepers here. For these, thou seest, are unmoved, cold, cold as those who lived and loved 1,000 years ago. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Tristram and Isolde by Matthew Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Part 3. Isolde of Brittany. A year had flown, and o'er the sea away, in Cornwall, Tristram and Queen Isolde lay, in King Mark's chapel, in Tintagel old. There in a ship they bore those lovers cold. The young surviving Isolde one bright day had wandered forth. Her children were at play in a green circular hollow in the heath, which borders the sea-shore. A country path creeps over it from the tilled fields behind. The hollow's grassy banks are soft inclined, and to one standing on them, far and near, the lone unbroken view spreads bright and clear over the waste. The cirque of open ground is light and green. The heather, which all round creeps thickly, grows not here. But the pale grass is strewn with rocks, and many a shivered mass of veined white gleaming quartz, and here and there dotted with holly trees and juniper. In the smooth centre of the opening stood 3 hollies side by side, and made a screen, warm with the winter sun, of burnished green with scarlet berries gemmed, the fell fare's food. Under the glittering hollies Isolde stands, watching her children play. Their little hands are busy gathering spars of quartz and streams of staghorn in their hats. Anon with screams of mad delight they drop their spoils, and bound among the holly clumps and broken ground, racing full speed, and startling in their rush the fell fares and the speckled missel thrush out of their glossy coverts. But when now their cheeks were flushed, and over each hot brow, under the feathered hats of the sweet pair, in blinding masses showered the golden hair, then Isolde called them to her, and the 3 clustered under the holly screen, and she told them an old-world Breton history. Warm in their mantles wrapped, the 3 stood there, under the hollies in the clear still air, mantles with those rich furs deep glistening, which Venice ships do from swart Egypt bring. Long they stayed still, then, pacing at their ease, moved up and down under the glossy trees. But still, as they pursued their warm dry road, from Isolde's lips the unbroken story flowed, and still the children listened, their blue eyes fixed on their mother's face in wide surprise. Nor did their looks stray once to the seaside, nor to the brown heaths round them, bright and wide, nor to the snow, which, though 'twas all away from the open heath, still by the hedgerows lay, nor to the shining sea-fowl, that with screams bore up from where the bright Atlantic gleams, swooping to landward, nor to where, quite clear, the fell fares settled on the thickets near. and they would still have listened till dark night came keen and chill down on the heather bright. But when the red glow on the sea grew cold, and the grey turrets of the castle old looked sternly through the frosty evening air, then Iseult took by the hand those children fair, and brought her tale to an end, and found the path, and led them home over the darkening heath. And is she happy? Does she see unmoved the days in which she might have lived and loved, slip without bringing bliss slowly away, one after one, tomorrow like today? Joy has not found her yet, nor ever will. Is it this thought which makes her mien so still, her features so fatigued, her eyes, though sweet, so sunk, so rarely lifted, save to meet her children's? She moves slow, her voice alone hath yet an infantine and silver tone, but even that comes languidly. In truth, she seems one dying in a mask of youth. And now she will go home, and softly lay her laughing children in their beds, and play a while with them before they sleep, and then she'll light her silver lamp, which fishermen dragging their nets through the rough waves afar, along this iron coast, know like a star, and take her broidery frame, and there she'll sit, hour after hour, her gold curls sweeping it, lifting her soft bent head only to mind her children, or to listen to the wind. And when the clock peals midnight, she will move her work away, and let her fingers rove across the shaggy brows of Tristram's hound, who lies guarding her feet along the ground. Or else she will fall musing, her blue eyes fixed, her slight hands clasped on her lap, then rise, and at her prie-dieu kneel, until she have told her rosary beads of ebony tipped with gold. Then to her soft sleep, and tomorrow will be today's exact repeated effigy. Yes, it is lonely for her in her hall. The children and the grey-haired seneschal, her women and Sir Tristram's aged hound, are there the sole companions to be found. But these she loves, and noisier life than this she would find ill to bear, weak as she is. She has her children too, and night and day is with them, and the wide heaths where they play, the hollies and the cliff and the sea-shore, the sand, the sea-birds, and the distant sails, these are to her dear as to them. The tales with which this day the children she beguiled gleamed from Breton grandams when a child, in every hut along this sea-coast wild. She herself loves them still, and, when they are told, can forget all to hear them as of old. Dear saints, it is not sorrow as I hear, not suffering which shuts up eye and ear to all that has delighted them before, and lets us be what we were once no more. No, we may suffer deeply, yet retain power to be moved and soothed for all our pain by what of old pleased us and will again. No, 'tis the gradual furnace of the world, in whose hot air our spirits are upcurled until they crumble, or else grow like steel, which kills in us the bloom, the youth, the spring, which leaves the fierce necessity to feel, but takes away the power. This can avail, by drying up our joy in everything, to make our former pleasures all seem stale. This, or some tyrannous single thought, some fit of passion, which subdues our soul to it, rest, till for its sake alone we live and move. Call it ambition, or remorse, or love. This too can change us wholly, and make seem all which we did before shadow and dream. And yet, I swear, it angers me to see how this fool passion gulls men potently, being in truth but a diseased unrest, and an unnatural overheat at best. How they are full of languor and distress, not having it, which when they do possess, they straightway are burnt up with fume and care, and spend their lives in posting here and there where this plague drives them, and have little ease, are furious with themselves, and hard to please. Like that bold Caesar, the famed Roman wight, who wept at reading of a Grecian knight, who made a name at younger years than he. Or that renowned mirror of chivalry, Prince Alexander, Philip's peerless son, who carried the great war from Macedon into the Sudan's realm, and thundered on to die at 35 in Babylon. What tale did Iseult to the children say, under the hollies that bright winter's day? She told them of the fairy-haunted land, away the other side of Brittany, beyond the heaths edged by the lonely sea, of the deep forest glades of Broceliande, through whose green boughs the golden sunshine creeps, where Merlin by the enchanted thorn-tree sleeps. For here he came with the Fay Vivian, one April, when the warm days first began. He was on foot, and that false Fay his friend on her white palfrey. Here he met his end, in these lone sylvan glades that April day. This tale of Merlin and the lovely Fay was the one Iseult chose, and she brought clear before the children's fancy him and her. Blowing between the stems, the forest air had loosened the brown locks of Vivian's hair, which played on her flushed cheek, and her blue eyes sparkled with mocking glee and exercise. Her palfrey's flanks were mired and bathed in sweat, for they had travelled far and not stopped yet. A briar in that tangled wilderness had scored her white right hand, which she allows to rest ungloved on her green riding dress. The other warded off the drooping boughs. But still she chatted on, with her blue eyes fixed full on Merlin's face, her stately prize. Her haviour had the morning's fresh clear grace, the spirit of the woods was in her face. She looked so witching fair that learned wight forgot his craft, and his best wits took flight, and he grew fond and eager to obey his mistress, use her empire as she may. They came to where the brushwood ceased, and day peered twixt the stems, and the ground broke away in a slope sward down to a brawling brook. And up as high as where they stood to look, on the brook's further side was clear. But then the underwood and trees began again. This open glen was studded thick with thorns, then white with blossom. And you saw the horns, through last year's fern, of the shy fallow deer, who come at noon down to the water here. You saw the bright-eyed squirrels dart along, under the thorns on the green sward, and strong the blackbird whistled from the dingles near, and the weird chipping of the woodpecker rang lonely and sharp. The sky was fair, and a fresh breath of spring stirred everywhere. Merlin and Vivian stopped on the slope's brow, to gaze on the light sea of leaf and bough, which glistening plays all round them, lone and mild, as if to itself the quiet forest smiled. Upon the brow top grew a thorn, and here the grass was dry and mossed, and you saw clear across the hollow. White anemones starred the cool turf, and clumps of primroses ran out from the dark underwood behind. No fairer resting place a man could find. Here let us halt, said Merlin then, and she nodded and tied her palfrey to a tree. They sat them down together, and a sleep fell upon Merlin, more like death, so deep. Her finger on her lips, then Vivian rose, and from her brown-locked head the wimple throws, and takes it in her hand, and waves it over the blossom thorn-tree and her sleeping lover. 9 times she waved the fluttering wimple round, and made a little plot of magic ground. And in that daisied circle, as men say, is Merlin prisoner till the judgment day. But she herself whither she will can rove, for she was passing weary of his love. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. End of love poems by famous authors by various.